Welcome back to Student Exposure. In a small apartment in a nondescript building in the nation's capital, something is being created, something quite extraordinary, a zine. Covered in publications like the Washington Post, Sevier, and the New York Times, the Runcible Spoon is a unique local publication being produced right here in Washington, D.C. Let's find out more.
My relationship with the Runcible Spoon is that I'm the founder and editor of the zine. It's a little food zine, and we publish anywhere between 1 to 3 times a year, sporadically. I wanted to find the creative community in DC, and I found DC to be very cold, and I found it very hard to find the creative niche or the creative community in DC, so it was a way for me to also find those people, and they did. They came out of the woodwork, and it became very collaborative toward the end, well, still is now.
My name is Allison Bates. I'm an editor of the Runcible Spoon for how many years?
5 years.
For not 5 years. For like 3 or 4 years. I think that zines are pretty much just publications that enthusiasts make.
I know that, well, people have been making zines since like Gutenberg or whatever, right? Like, it's this sort of like, you know, you have a thought and it cannot be expressed in the mainstream, so we're gonna make it anyway and disperse our ideas through the printing press or like through Xerox machines or fax or whatever. So like, I feel like that, like the idea of like creating like a subversive piece of content through the medium of papers glued together has been around for a long time. And I know that during the 80s and 90s it was really central to the punk movement.
You know, I think now is kind of like I kind of feel like we're in a kind of renaissance of printed pages. I think that people who want to make zines are kind of reacting to our digital life. And
I don't think that you need resources to start your own zine. I think the advice is as plain as day, like when I got it when I was in high school, where, you know, it's all up to you. You just put it together and you print it and you give it to your friends or you sell it to your friends, and then that's it. That's the great thing about a zine. And you could only make 5 copies and call it a zine. You could make 1 copy and call it a zine. You could sell it for $25 and call it a zine. There's kind of no rules as long as it's literally papers together, like you are doing the right thing.
I have my own zine. I've loved zines for so much of my life that I've always wanted to do one, and it was like a confidence issue. I just never thought like, I always thought like, I want to make a zine, but what will it be? And I always thought I'd do like a writing zine. But I just had like a spark of inspiration one day, and I decided to make a zine about floral photography, which is random. I published it in October 2013. To me, Runcible means, I think the best word would be irreverent. And my favorite definition of our zine is like mostly fake, you know, recipes that you wouldn't want to cook. So for Runcible, you could say unsavory in a fun way.
Listen, you guys know how it works, right? Like, a food company has a press release that they disseminate to like 90 different outlets. They will all write about that same thing in their like different brand way. We will take that and we will split it in half and destroy it, and we will use it for our own collage in our magazine. Like, that's the difference.
Here in the studio, we have Carnell Locke. Welcome to Student Exposure, Carnell.
Glad to be here.
And Carnell, what else did you find out about zines in Washington?
Right. During my independent research of zines, I found that I was impacted in many ways. First and foremost, I discovered that to be a zine author or writer, You don't need to be sanctioned by any type of book company. Your ideas, it's pen to paper. You want to get your idea out. Primarily, it's not by status quo opinion. Also, it's not anything that would be primarily constitutional. It is the mind to paper. It is the author's attitude, the expression, but at the same time, staying away from taboos.
So Carnell, who exactly can make zines, and why and how are people making zines?
Anyone can make a zine. As stated inquisitively, it's the author's mind, his desire. You want to put it on paper. Historically, zines was a way to get things across on paper, and 8.5 by 11 paper historically, and today you want to stay with that mode. Although in this day of digitized networking, hard copy still competes.
Well, thanks, Carnell. You definitely learn something new every day. Now you know you can make a zine. For more information on zines in DC, you can visit dczinefest.wordpress.com or therunciblespoon.info. Coming up next, skateboarding.